Chapter 4. Coins, Cups, and Ghosts. There was a signature liquor where Nala grew up, and it was called Scrumpy. It was strong, it was strange, and it was very popular. In Orkshire, all the apples were gold, so the Scrumpy looked like mead, and tasted a bit like it too. As her gran traded coins for a clay cup of the stuff, Nala smiled. Not at the smell of it, which made her nose pucker, but because they used her family's apples to make the stuff. In a way, it was theirs too, or at least they were a part of it. She was a part of it. Nala herself had picked those apples. Probably not from the cider trees, though. Without Mom to press her, Nala had avoided the cider trees this year. She was sure they were haunted. There were only 3 cider trees in the Dogmore Applewood, but these were not like the other trees. Their purple leaves were dark, and the apples they dropped were too bitter to eat for most people. Not for Nala, but for most people. That trio of trees grew at the very edge of the applewood. She always thought they looked kind of sad, like they were crying all the time. They'd been planted at the foot of Mount Wraithwood, where nothing grew and nothing died. Even on a full moon night, all the shadows on Mount Wraithwood seemed to deepen and twist, but the last time that she had tried those trees had been an empty moon. Under the moonless sky that night last autumn, the darkness felt alive. Nala shuddered at the memory, forgetting the crowd around her, a night so dark not even orcs can see. That night she remembered approaching the trees. The basket was in her hand. Out of the corner of her eye she saw some shapeless thing dash through the dense, dead birches, and when she looked there was nothing. Then Nala heard voices, animals, whimpers, whispers, howls. Owls that screeched and the crying coo of a dying dove. Yet all she saw was empty mist. "Hello, little ghosts," something said in her, a voice deep in the root of her spine, a voice that somehow had been sleeping in her all her little life. Nala didn't think much of it in the grip of her empty moon fear. Among the trees, 2 eyes flashed open. It had no body that she could see. The eyes seemed to float on the darkness's skin. Both eyes were bright as full moons, the eyes of a creature not made of mere flesh. Nala's head split open with noise. She clutched both ears with both hands and dropped the basket. An army of animal ghosts shrieked and wailed and shouted within her, gripping Nala with the kind of terror that she only felt in her very worst dreams. She ran without thinking, ran with all her might, fast as she could. She got tired, but her fear wouldn't let her stop. Her shallow breath hissed, shrill in her own ears, all the way back to her house. After that, Nala decided to spend her autumn in the friendlier shadows of friendlier trees, closer to home and less sad. But that was seasons ago now. Why Nala thought of it, she couldn't say. She let go of Gran's hand so she could pay for the Scrumpy. If there was ever a chore to skip, it was that one. That year, Nala had just tossed in the apples that came bruised off the branches of less creepy trees. And the boy from the Scrumpy stand never seemed to mind. As Gran took her first sip, it didn't seem like she minded much either. Nala grinned up at her, and Gran grinned back. "Hold this," Gran said, handing Nala a single coin. "Oh, what is it? Made just today," Gran grinned, as she sipped her clay cup. Nala turned it in one hand as Gran took the other. "Onward?" asked Gran grandly. "Onward." All the western tribes traded in bones. Each tribe had its own coin, but they were always made of silver. True silver, too. Nala found herself wondering, where do you get so much silver? Once they were in a quieter place, Nala decided she'd ask Gran. As a rule, bones were blank on one side, which was called the coin's heel. On every coin's face was a symbol. The faces on bones were as different as the tribes that minted them. Some orcs put complex sigils on their bones. The Noor made bones like that, beautiful patterns that are hard to describe, wrought with the finest of magics. Some bones were inscribed with orcish letters on the face, simple to replicate and easy to do well. The distant merchant tribe of Ebulir marked each face with the rune of its current ruler. The Sebuluri bones were all marked with 2 arrows, and Orlathaya bones tracked the same years as humans, 421 year of the Lich, though 419 was the last minting year that tribe would ever see. Even the more savage tribes traded in bones. Always of silver, all their heels blank. The bones of the Guthrie were scrawled with crude fire, and the Snowjaw's bones looked just like cracked ice. The Yegura were the laziest. Yeguran bones bore just one single mark, an undesigned gash on the silver coin's face. Yegura was a long, long ways away, on the other side of Ugria, so not many Yeguran bones made it to Orkshire. Even so, Nala knew Gran had at least one back at home. Granica had been collecting bones since she was a very little girl. She had one from each place she'd been, and she collected them in fistfuls from every merchant tinker that came through Orkshire Market Town. Orkshire bones were not crude. Another name for Orkshire was the cradle of magic. They kept the ways and relayed the stories, so Nala was sure that Gran would have 1 or 3 stories about the first bones, or how bones were made, or some obscure thing about why they were silver. In Orkshire, they still had a coin witch, and she took pride in their tribe's symbol, a snake encircling an open palm. The snake and the palm were 2 omens of Ugru, the goddess of the moon, the goddess of shadows, the one who merged with all the world. As Nala let the river of her thought meander and twist, Gran held her hand and sipped on her scrumpy. Dozens of musicians competed for attention. Some singers were screaming for fear of obscurity. Clay flutes and wooden ones toiled beneath the din. There were drums, loud, and bells, louder, and even a couple stringed instruments being brutalized for volume. In a corner of town where the crowd was a bit thinner, a blue-skinned kid played on a harp. His pants were caked in the memory of red mud. There was a hat on the ground in front of him, turned upside down. It was a floppy hat made of some pillowy material, made for being seen in. It was torn up and limp as a rag. Once, it must have been splendid. He was an excellent player, especially for his age, even younger than Nala. Most of the strings on his harp were broken, splaying off the upper bridge, so the boy only had 1 full register to play in. They had to get closer to hear. The boy's music was sad, not festival music at all. Maybe that's why no one listened. There were no words. His eyes were clamped closed. He was lost in the music, so Nala shut her eyes too and let herself sink into it. Another string abruptly broke, pulling both Nala and him from their trance. When he stopped, Granica began clapping. She beamed down at the child. He flinched and looked up, surprised that somebody had been there and listening. "Beautiful! Transcendent," Gran said, as she dropped a handful of glittering bones in the hat. The moon lightly kissed the coins, and they glinted yellow as they fell. The boy smiled so wide, it looked like it hurt. His 2 front teeth were missing, and his tusks were just now teething. "Thank you," he cried, picking up the hat. He cradled his harp in his armpit next to his heart, and Nala realized just how small he was. "Thank you, ma'am, thank you." Akka just laughed. "Eat something." "Yes, ma'am," he said, bowing. "Of course, ma'am, as you wish. Thank you, thank you. And when you're full, share." But he had already disappeared, gone before she had a chance to change her mind. "He called me ma'am so many times," said Akka, acting grumpy, drinking scrumpy. She was close to the bottom of the cup now. "Can we afford that?" Nala dared to say. Gran shot a look at her, sideways. "You're 10, she said. Nala scowled. 11, she corrected. "Right. So you let me worry about what we can and can't afford. All right?" Nala went meek. "Okay." The wind changed. "Good. You only get to be a kid once." Gran sniffed the air, turning her head toward the smell. "You smell it too," Nala said. Gran smiled down at her. "Still hungry?" "Always," cringed Nala. "To Grisha's?" Nala nodded. "To Grisha's." Nala's excitement made her wear light flicker and dance above her head. Grisha's sounded perfect, smelled even better, and they always got food for free on account of Grisha having a huge crush on Nala's mama. Not that Nala knew this at the time. She was only thinking of the food. "Sounds delicious." Gran drained the last drop of her cup. "Let's go." And they went on.